5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hello and welcome everyone to Truth, Beer, and Podsequences.
Yay!
Yay indeed, Julia. Yay indeed. We are back. That's it. We're back.
That's it. We're back. You know.
So
in case you missed us. From last episode to this one,
correct.
We're back. We're here.
This is a podcast where my co-hosts and I listen to and watch all the Cincinnati-based craft beer media from the previous week. We get together at a podcast host, and today we are back at Higher Gravity Summit Park. Thank you, Higher Gravity, for being a gracious podcast host. Now, my name is Marco. I'm in the alcohol space here. I'm taproom manager locally. I also brewed beer for several years. And the other voice you heard belongs to the best co-host in Podcastlandia.
I am Julia, and a week from today, so the next time that we record, do you know what holiday it is? I'll give you a hint. It is July 1st.
July 1st.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the day after my air conditioning is installed.
This is true. Okay, so there's another holiday.
It
is the day that the Higher Gravity Beer Vent box calendars go on pre-sale.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yes. If you're new to the show, every year Higher Gravity does a beer vent box. It is 25 days, 25 different beers, a multitude of styles, some local, some not, some specially brewed just for the beer vent calendar by local breweries, some things that are imported that you will never actually get on the shelves here in Cincinnati. It is my favorite time of year. It is absolutely spectacular.
Beer vent.
Beer vent in July, yes. So you can start pre-ordering July 1st. That's when the link goes live at Higher Gravity Craft House, HAUS.com. At the end of July, I believe they close pre-orders until November, it's like September, November-ish, or they might just leave it open from July. It just depends on how they're feeling about things. There are all the feels. There are a limited number of beer vent boxes. Once they sell out, that is it. They cannot make you a new one. They cannot, we'll just do whatever. The only chance you have to get one after they sell out is if someone calls up and cancels their order or accidentally orders 2 or 3 boxes and they need to say, oops, I didn't mean to do that.
Yeah.
Not that happened to me last year, but you know what? Sometimes things happen. I've actually been thinking that maybe for July 1st, maybe I'll do a parody to introduce the pre-order beer vent season.
That's a big deal.
Keep an eye on the Truth, Beer, and Podsequences Facebook page for that goodness.
All right, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Great
Wheels
announcement. Great informing our listeners about what's coming up, because that is an exciting time of year.
And everyone that doesn't, they always regret it. If they say, man, I really wish I would have gotten one, just do it.
Yeah, the FOMO is real.
Yes. It is $120, but the value that you are getting out of that,
$120.
The value you are getting out of that is
25
is exceptional. Yes.
Curated beers in this box for only $125.
And some of the beers, Jason and Nick try to correspond with if there's a daily holiday, St. Nick's Day or Krampus or what have you. It's spectacular. It is my favorite time of year. If you want some ideas on what's been in previous boxes, just go to our Facebook page. I'm ashamed to admit it, we don't post that much, but if you just scroll back to December, you will see my daily posts with the beer that was in that day and the parody that I did for that day as well. Mm-hmm. So you can kind of get an idea of what to expect, even though I don't think... No, I think there's very rarely in the 5 or 6 years I've been getting it any repeats between years. Like, they do an absolutely spectacular job of putting these boxes together, and there's only a week left until I can order mine.
You're excited.
I am excited.
You wish you could pre-order the pre-order.
Oh, hell yeah. If they would give me
Actually, last year you could. Right after beer vent season, you could lock in your price and the next year's beer vent.
Yes, and that's how I ended up accidentally ordering multiple boxes, because I forgot that I pre-ordered in December or beginning of January, and so I pre-ordered again in July, and I'm like, I don't need this. Help. Yeah. But yes, so we will mention this again next week, but put it on your calendars. They do not ship these boxes because they weigh like 40 pounds because it's cans and bottles of beer, 25, 26 if you pre-order. If you pre-order in July, you do get an extra beer. What do you have to lose? No, absolutely nothing.
No.
Absolutely nothing.
No. I mean, that's a fact.
Yeah.
What do you have to
Yeah.
lose?
Yeah.
Nothing.
100%. Yeah.
That's awesome. Exciting news. Also means that July is right around the corner.
It can't get any hotter than it is right now.
It could. It could.
I don't want it to, though.
I don't either.
This is not...
3 weeks of no AC.
I don't know how you're
me.
still alive. I appreciate that you're still alive. I'm
Yeah.
very happy you're still alive. But
Taking a lot.
I would be like moving in with my sister or my mom at this point. I'd be like, you know
they have
what?
room?
I can't. I mean, they have couches.
Okay.
So, you know, and
Do they have beer?
I can bring beer. I will provide my own beer.
Okay.
I'm not expecting them to feed me.
I mean for me.
Oh, for you.
Yeah.
I'll help you out. You and I will
Okay.
trade back and forth on that. But
That'd be good.
But yeah.
Yeah, so there's that. No, what do you have to say for yourself?
Very, very.
Okay.
Very
go
insightful.
to the,
Yeah.
Everyone go to the gnarlygnome.com to support the gnome's content creation and all the stuff he's putting out.
Mm-hmm.
But what was that, gnome? Okay.
Okay.
All right, nothing. All right. He's pretty silent.
Apparently, he's packing for a trip or something. We'll get to that on our recap.
You know what I don't want to do?
What's that?
Camp in 100-degree weather.
You know, it didn't sound like they were camping.
It's not.
I think they have.
It's not. I think we need to. I think we need to let go of that stigma. That's not camping.
No. Well, yeah. Sometimes I think he does. Okay, so do we want to finish the disclaimer and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, okay.
And jump immediately into the weekly pint because we're already going off on it?
Thoughts and opinions on this podcast are ours and ours alone. They do not reflect any entity which we may be affiliated with, such as full-time jobs, part-time jobs, third jobs, Higher Gravity, or anybody else for that matter, except Gnome Creative. We all speak for Gnome Creative at this point. But no, we don't. We're not also like those fake-ass podcasts. We actually have beers when we're on the show. Those fake-ass podcasts, what they do is they come on like, oh, we're having this, and, it smells like, rotting grapefruit with, a touch of oak and, chocolate. And it's like, no, we're having real beverages here. Julia, what are you drinking?
I have to pull it up on Untappd because I can't see the board and I forgot the name of
Is
it.
it
already.
Mellotone?
It is from Mellotone Beer Kuronami, which is a Schwarzbier. One
Great.
of my favorite styles.
That's great.
I told Marco that when he finishes his current beer, I will buy him a pint of this because we know he loves the dark lagers.
Yes.
Absolutely his
Wow.
favorite style. But no,
Amazing.
Mellotone is making some amazing stuff, and this beer is no exception.
Excellent.
How about you, Marco? What is in your glass?
I am having Fathead's Headhunter.
Excellent. That
Yeah.
is always a solid choice.
It is. Solid choice.
I feel like that could go as one of Higher Gravity's doing a new kind of weekly post on OG favorites, like beers that you kind of forget about, that you have them after a while and go, man, I forgot how good this beer is. Not that we ever forget about Headhunter, but I feel like that could be that beer for someone.
What were we talking about? Gnome and camping? and all
Yeah,
that?
so the pieces of content that we have to talk about this week are Barstool Perspectives. I don't know.
Both
There's
of them.
at least
So
two. There are at least
there are
two
two
of them.
perspectives.
We're going to talk about
And then
the,
two more with ours.
exactly. We're going to talk about the weekly pint, and then we're going to talk
TWP.
about. He's not here, so we don't. We just don't know.
Fuck, bro.
We're going to have to speculate.
Reckless speculation.
And then we're going to talk about a national podcast that has nothing to do with local beer. All About Beer did a Why is Beer So Expensive
Oh,
podcast,
yeah.
which I was actually kind of excited about until I listened to it. So this is going to be a fun, you understood it more than I did. So that's going to be a fun back and forth on you understanding the nuts and bolts a hell of a lot more than I do.
Yeah.
But
All right.
but yeah, since we
I'm
were
your
already,
nuts guy.
You're indeed you are, sir, and I appreciate you always bringing the nuts.
Yeah.
To my bolts.
Cheers.
Cheers.
All right, everyone.
So the weekly pint, since we're already ranting about Nome and what camping is or is not.
Yeah.
Okay. Weekly Pint episode 267, The Heat Makes the Beer Taste Better, which is a fucking lie. He did not drink a single beer. Well, no, that's a lie.
He did at the
drink
end.
at the very end. But he didn't talk at all about the heat making the beer taste better. He could have
Thirst
done
quenching,
so much.
beer thirst quenching, yes, that's fantastic. But
yeah.
The whole show was basically the gin hour.
Exactly. There was no schnappening.
No.
This is the first time
You don't need it when you're going to do like 5 gins.
True. I'm not saying that would have been overkill. However, he has been trying very hard to stay consistent with the show, both in making sure it happens every Monday and with the consistency of the schnappening, and he just went, you know what? No, I'm already doing too much. How many other times has he done absolutely terrible drinking but still did a schnappening? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But it was premeditated.
Yeah,
he was not going to do a
was.
schnappening.
Yes.
Because he had so much gin.
Yes.
He had gin all over the
He
place.
filled his desk with gin. It was a
Yeah.
gin and tonic off. If that sounds no, that doesn't
G&T
sound right.
off?
A G&T off? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, it sounds gross.
It does.
Actually, it sounds
doesn't
pornographic.
roll off the tongue. It actually, yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Julia.
Or it sounds like
Like if you said, "Hey Josh, do you want to go to a G&T-Off?" and he's
he
I don't know, does everyone have their shots?
He could either look at
hepatitis
me.
B or whatever.
He could either look at me in disgust or say, "I'm not into golf." T off.
Okay.
Just leave the G out of it. I don't
Okay.
know. I'm reaching. I'm around. What? Huh?
Hey
What?
now, whoa.
I don't know.
G&T off, you gotta reach around.
We don't even need Gnome to get off track.
No.
You know what?
We never did, but
yeah, this is true.
he just helps.
Yes.
Yeah.
He is the accelerant to
Look,
that fire. 100%.
I think all of you know, show's fun. Show's more fun when he's around. The voices. We like voices.
It's true. And actually, speaking of that, I'm going to, derail again.
Let's go.
Shout out to Brett. It was awesome to talk to you at Higher Gravity Speakeasy Night.
The Brett?
The Brett, the one and only. And
Coleman Baker.
He made a comment that he likes our show, which, holy crap, he listens.
Yeah.
Who knew? I mean, we
faith.
say all the time that they're big listeners, but that confirmation is actually pretty cool.
Yeah, I had faith.
But he said that he likes the show because it's kind of like just listening in and though participating in just a conversation, which is what we wanted this whole thing to be. We want to promote the shows and the creators that we talk about. But these are conversations that you and I would probably be having anyway. So why not include everyone else to,
all of
in
you.
In the chaos that is our conversation. So
Yeah.
Brett, thank you. Your support, your listenership means everything to us. But yeah, I guess we'll start talking about Gnome again.
We started with Gnome. Let's go ahead and keep
Okay,
going.
okay, that works. He had 5 different gins that he did a 50-50. Cinco, yes. He did a 50-50 with tonic to try to determine which one is best. He had Karakin's gin, which, breaking news on Karakin, they're for sale, which was kind of speculated about, but now it's public knowledge. Yeah, so there you go there.
All right.
Cincinnati Gin by
He's got
Molly
4.5
Wellman.
million. Let's go.
You know what? I bet if we pool our fund, you know what? If I
I
sell
can barely
my
buy a car right now.
if I sell my Tilray stock, I still have no chance in hell of buying Karakin. So,
Yeah.
there's that.
Yeah.
Gnome had Karakin's gin, Molly Wellman Cincinnati gin, the wet hop gin from 5 Stories, Northern Row.
Northern Row.
Gordon's and Lost Bridge Beverage Company's gin. And as he talked about a couple other things, he was sipping on them, smelling them, going, okay, wait a second. They all smell the same, but very different. They all taste very good. And it was tricky for him to try to determine
Tricky.
which gin makes the best gin and tonic to him.
The old G&T.
Yeah. We are not going to expose that because we want you to watch or listen to this episode, to the show.
We're not gonna
That's
expose
the whole point.
ourselves.
No, absolutely. We'll get arrested. We'll get thrown out of this place.
No. I've done it multiple times. It has not led to arrest.
But normally the table is in front of us, so you kind of don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
Right? Today, we're at the bar. We're kind of more exposed than normal.
Well, that's the thing. It's like you just, if you're not wearing pants, you just got to stay seated.
And you know what? With as hot as it is, I don't think anyone...
Yeah.
Look, you're still more covered up right now than you are when you wear your Speedo to the pool. So I don't see why there's a problem. You know?
Yep.
Yeah. The question is, was he able to pick the best gin and tonic? And I will say...
He picked his favorite.
Yes, but with qualifiers.
Correct.
There had to be... Yeah, but you know, in this instance or in that instance, so...
Oh, yeah. It's like a big old Saunders Stories episode.
Exactly. I'm going to give you my number one if it also checks all of these other boxes that don't apply to all of these other ones that I'm also drinking.
Right.
But it was still fun. It was still fun to watch.
Oh,
and to go,
good time.
You're having how many shots of gin in how short of a period of time?
I mean, the thought crossed my mind, but who's counting?
We did.
We actually do.
We actually did, yes. So
there's actually we do.
when we say who's counting, it's us.
Yeah.
We have clickers.
Yeah.
Yes.
We have clickers.
It's fantastic. And then, of course, as any good drinker does, once he determined what he felt was the best gin and tonic, he cuvées all of them.
Well, that's the move, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It was more gin than tonic, absolutely.
As it should be.
Sure.
At that point.
At that point, yes.
At that point,
yes.
You're like trying to actually understand the profile of all of them mixed together. So just go a little bit low on the T.
Mm-hmm.
This guy knows what I'm talking about, the low T.
No made it out to Misrule Brewing in Oxford.
Okay,
which
good.
Josh and I both agreed that they have one of the best logos. It's like a little rabbit holding a hatchet. I love it. I freaking love it. So we're going to have to drive up to Oxford at some time once it's not 5 billion degrees out, or as Tone would say, hotter.
Can I sit in the back?
Sure.
All right,
Sure.
dope.
Once it is, as Tone would say, hotter than a snail's butthole, or the snail hole, the devil's snail hole. I don't know. Tone has this amazingly fantastic
Wait a minute.
phrase for it.
What
Yes.
is that?
That's what I said the first time he said. I'm like, what the hell is a snail hole? And he goes, just think about it. And I went, I don't want to. I have enough images in my head from normal recording. I don't need additional. But once it is no longer hotter than the devil's asshole out there, maybe I'll drive 45 minutes up to Oxford. I'm not making road trips in this heat. Absolutely not.
No.
I'll die. Let's see. Where did we stop off with? Gnome talked about fight juice.
Yeah,
and
fight
what
juice.
his fight juice is. I kind of want to try it. He says it's awful.
I'm down for it.
It's one of those things. It's to me, it's like Malort. It's like so many other things. I am not smart. I will do something dumb once. I mean, the whole, what was it? The Slim Jim aged him in Malort.
Yeah.
That Ship Beers had. I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
that
I
was
did
the
have
word.
that.
You did.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, Joy, you should do this. And they're
no,
like,
it was
oh, she won't do it.
disgusting.
I'm like, no, I'll do it once. I'll
Yeah,
regret it.
It was disgusting.
I will have constant regret, but I'll do it once.
Yeah.
I'm not, yeah.
It was disgusting.
Yes. It sounds like it. So Fight Juice sounds like it's going to be an abomination. But
Let's go.
I am willing, for the good of the podcast, to try it at some point.
Yeah.
All right, from talking about his Fight Juice, Depot Brewing up in Morrow had its soft opening.
Yeah.
And no official grand opening date listed, but
But they listed a month worth of soft openings.
Yes. So I'm going to say they're open-ish because there may be a date
for sure
that
open-ish.
that they go,
Yeah.
shit, we're out of beer. But technically, we haven't opened yet. Air quotes for those of you not watching the live stream.
Right.
So I'm excited.
I need to get
But
over
again,
there. I am so
you
close.
were very, very close.
I'm so close. I need to get over there.
Yes. Let's see, his beer of the night, because I forgot that he had a beer of the night. Underneath the Secret Stairs by Trillium. What the fuck is a Boston Stout?
So
It's
a Boston
like Boston
Stout.
baked beans, a Boston cream pie donut. Like what?
So
what
a Boston
is-
Stout is a stout, but what you do is you have the tattered remains of a Bill Belichick sweater, and you filter the grains through the sweater.
And you drink it angrily.
So and then when you're done, you just say we're on to Cincinnati.
So I guess how did we get to there from talking about a Boston Stout? Anyway, to try to pull this train
Bill
back
Belichick,
onto the tracks
Jordan.
a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Eventually, if we talk backwards enough, we figure out how we got to point X from point 3.
So now what happens is when somebody says, "Oh, so and so and their girlfriend," I'm like, "All right, so is their girlfriend older or younger than Bill Belichick's?" Like that's like my go-to line now.
What? Yeah, was she born before or after 9/11? Is kind of. How wrong am I? Not very. Not very. Back to the weekly pint because you know what I mean. We're 32 minutes into the show already, and we haven't even finished covering one show yet. That's just how we roll. That's how we do it. We do this for you. AI created thumbnails.
Yeah.
I mean, in a way, it is a false image selling a product. You may not have to pay for it if it's video on YouTube or whatever. But where exactly does it cross the line, much like Gnome's conversation from a few weeks ago about if you're selling food and you're using an AI-generated image instead of your actual product? Now, I know with what Gnome's doing, it's kind of different. He enhanced the expression he was making. He wasn't making it look like he was in a completely different location, or it's not as disingenuous as some of these other AI thumbnails that I've seen on videos where it looks like a scene from the video and then that scene never happens. I don't know. It's
buckle
weird.
up, everyone.
Okay.
It's becoming more prominent everywhere.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Just buckle up.
Do you think there should at least be a disclaimer on anything AI generated with this includes an AI generated image? Just something that's simple. They don't have to watermark over the entire thing, but just something that acknowledges.
I don't know.
This is an AI generated image.
I don't know. I don't know enough to speak on it.
I would be for it because again, it's just like our stuff. It's a disclaimer. You can take that image or that, however you want. But I do think that AI is getting good enough that sometimes you don't know if what you're looking at is
I agree.
fact or fiction.
I agree.
So I do think that there should be this contains AI generated content. And if the creator wants to dive into that, like this whole image was AI generated or this whole story was AI generated versus this thumbnail is AI generated, but there is no AI in the actual video, that's on them. But the viewer will at least have some idea to maybe take what they're seeing or listening to or reading with a grain of salt and not assume everything is true. I don't know.
Okay.
It's weird.
It's
It's a weird expression of creativity or creative expression kind of thing. It's still kind of blurry. Okay, so 2 more notes to wrap up this recap. Should you put out videos just for the clicks, or should you put out the videos that you really want to put out, which I thought you and I could relate to a lot because we don't do a lot of videos or many at all on YouTube, but the ones we do are because we want to put something out, not because we're looking for clicks.
But also, somebody could, who doesn't understand that superficially, ask us, hey, how successful is what you do?
Right. How many
and
clicks do you have? How many listeners? It's like, I
well,
don't know.
I don't think we're gauging success in the same way.
True.
Yeah. If you're gauging it solely on clicks, downloads, sponsorships and all that other stuff,
we would be very unsuccessful.
We
if
would
that's
be
your
very
measure of
unsuccessful.
success. Yeah.
But we're gauging it on our terms, which
are we
is,
still having fun doing this?
are we still having fun doing this, and are we putting out the content that we want to put out? And the answer is yes.
Yeah.
And so,
And if you want to put out content for the sole purpose of getting views and clicks, that's fine. Everyone has, like you said, Marco, their own measure of success. And it's not up to me or anyone else to judge anyone else on that. I just know that for us, as long as we're still having fun making these, having these conversations every single week, we're just going to keep on doing it.
yeah.
Yeah. And then last note that I had, because beers need to be refilled and we're already almost 40 minutes into this.
Nope.
Gnome is going on family vacation with 13 family members. Will he come back alive? And will we have any good stories next time he joins us?
I think he's going to come back alive. I think we're going to have great stories. I think we're going to get good content out of this.
I would agree.
And
I would agree.
I think a lot of his intention is part of it's content, but I think a large part of it is to just be in the social experiment that is the house.
Oh, 100%. So listen, watch, get all the dynamics that are playing into this. I don't know that all my family members would come back alive if similar situation. Interesting social experiment that I'm not going to try.
Okay.
Sniff and sip count.
Okay.
To wrap up this recap, there were a lot of gins, so there were a lot of sniffs and a lot of sips. 35 sniffs.
Okay.
To try to understand the juniper and the different, botanicals in the gin. And 25 sips across all the gins and tonics, all the cuvee and the beer. That means that there were a total in this 1 hour and 20-minute episode of
this is big.
60 sips. That is, according to our drinking game, 120 ounces, 7.5 pints.
That's big.
Damn.
That's big.
Damn. That's
big.
huge.
And don't do it with gin.
No, you might die.
Yeah.
You might die.
You might die.
All right, we need to get some fresh beers, and then we will come back to talk about all about beer and Barstool Perspective. So stick around with us through this short, non-sponsored break, because by the time I'm done talking, we'll already be back. Stick around.
See you. Bye.
What have you done? What did you do? Why?
Well,
do you want to tell the people what you did?
What I did was I asked producer Emily. Mm-hmm.
Amazing producer. Thank you, Emily, for all you do for us. Everyone here who helps
they're all,
keep our glasses full and everything. Yeah.
Everyone's amazing.
Maybe I shouldn't thank Emily for this one, though.
I said, can you take a shot of Malort and split it into 2 tasters, please? And then
and she laughed demonically and went, absolutely. Yes, I can.
Yeah, so we have some Malort.
I mean, it's not an ashtray. Are we really doing it right? All right. So are we doing this now? Are we doing this after the next recap? What is your...
You know what? I bought it. You decide what we want to do.
Okay, well, first, you have a new beer. I'm still working on my Schwarzbier.
Masthead IPA.
Okay, so that's going to be your chaser.
Yeah.
Damn good chaser, by the way.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and do the shot. That way we have the rest of the recaps to get the taste out off of our palate.
Sounds good.
Do you want to talk about all about beer next, since that's going to be kind of a shorter recap and a more technical, casual bounce back and forth between the two of us on it?
Yeah.
All right. Well, for fuck's sake.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers. Here we go.
Here's what are we cheersing to?
You know what? Here's
to the red, white, and blue. To the colors that run through.
We'll do that next week because recording on the first. You know what? I'm not even. You know what? Let's cheers to sticking to doing the things we want to do because we genuinely enjoy them and we genuinely believe in the things that we're doing, like this podcast.
I can cheers to that.
And that includes sometimes drinking god-awful stuff because why not?
Yeah. You secretly like it.
I kind of do, yeah.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers.
All right, everyone. Get your drink and cheers with us.
Wow. Okay. Wow. And it's like you can't take a drink of your chaser right away. Like you have to just let it build, because it does build. Oh my gosh, Emily, I don't want to say thank you, but I appreciate you. I'll just Marco.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I appreciate you.
Appreciate you. And I appreciate everyone's listening.
Yeah.
I know that it's a big deal. You can't get back time, so I truly appreciate all the listeners and their listenership and everyone who's stuck around, everyone who's new. I truly appreciate it. We are getting new listeners.
That is true.
Yeah, we are getting new listeners and new views, which is awesome.
Absolutely awesome.
To this niche thing that we do.
Yes. So. That sounds dangerous. Do we want to talk about all about beer to kind of get away from...
Sure, let's go.
All About Beer, episode 73. Why is beer so expensive? Marco, you saw this episode first and said, hey, this might be a good one to listen to and talk about because
I could have been wrong.
Beer being expensive is something that impacts all of us.
Yes.
So I said, absolutely, let's do this. And then at least to me, and this is where both of our experiences with craft beer varies greatly and allows us to have a very different reactions and thoughts and insight into what we watch and listen to really shines. This was a much more financially technical episode than what I thought it was going to be. It was fascinating, but I'll be honest, I couldn't follow everything that they were talking about. It started off with how much money actually goes into brewing, and there were a ton of percentages. Distribution could be 20 to 30% of those costs.
By the way, it's 30%.
30%?
At
Okay.
minimum.
Okay. The retailer could be taking 25% or more of a markup from what they had to pay the distributor.
Usually 25 to 30%, yes.
The ingredients could be 8 to 15% of the cost of the beer that you are poured.
Correct.
The labor could be up like a 38% cost of that pint of beer.
That's what you hope.
Packaging could make up as much to 40%, if not more, of the cost of the pint that you have.
Yes.
So this is what
taxes. It doesn't.
Right. Taxes, all that. This
excise taxes, depending on the state, and all this other stuff.
This is what a lot of this episode was. So if you enjoy the numbers part of beer, so Jason, Nick, I know you guys are spreadsheet people. I'm looking at you for this. This could be a really insightful and a really interesting episode for you. But me as just a consumer, as someone that doesn't deal with any of this outside of what I am paying for my pint of beer, a lot of it went over my head. Like I tried to understand everything, but I didn't quite get it.
So I get that. I totally get that. But this is kind of the space where I don't want to say I live, but
You don't do the purchasing of like ingredients and all that kind of stuff.
I'm kind of in this space, so I understood everything that she was talking about. Audra.
Just so, yes.
By the way, it was Audra.
Yes.
You can search Audra Beer, and
it's all her. Yeah,
it's all her. She worked for.
Just so you know, this is the first time I'm taking a drink since the shot of Malort.
Okay. Dope.
I don't know if it's like a challenge, like wait at least 5 minutes before you do it or whatever, like
fine.
like one chip. But
so Audra was what is it called? A controller or finance person at Dogfish Head.
Yes.
For a lot of years, and then another business, and now she has her own business as basically controller consultant.
Right. Exactly. She will look at your business, look at all the numbers, and kind of help you determine. Are you doing things as financially efficiently as possible?
Fiscally,
if that makes sense. Yeah, fiscally
fiscally
responsible. Yeah.
Responsible.
See, you've been involved in stuff that makes you know better words than me.
So what happens is long story short, what's going on is there's a bunch of different percentages that equal out to essentially costs that go into the beer. Yes, raw ingredients, the labor, the distributing, the canning of the product. Are you canning it yourself, or are you contract canning? What you do is you try and factor all those costs in, and then what you try to do is have a price that you know that you need to exceed as far as a per gallon or per barrel or whatever it is that you're going to use your metric for your KPIs or whatever. There's so many variables, of course, state by state, different percentages in excise taxes and so forth.
Well, and even one of the top. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off there.
No. But all of these, and not all, many of these prices are variable. So they could go like your malt could be from 5 to 15%, depending on not just the beer, but it could be depending on where you buy it from or when you buy it.
Yeah.
Same thing with hops. How you buy it, when you buy it, where you buy it from.
I would imagine the pelletized version is, again, still depending on when you're buying it, is going to be a lot cheaper than trying to get the fresh version of that hop.
Yeah,
I would imagine getting fresh hops would be more expensive just because the grower would need to, once they take that contract from you, ensure that they are harvesting and however they are shipping or delivering it. So there's probably an extra cost.
I can't tell you whether it's cheaper or not. My thought is that it's actually cheaper to buy whole cone hops.
Yeah, because
they're
the
not
grower
processed.
doesn't have to process it. So, Dave, if you are still listening to the show, let us know. Is it cheaper for a brewery to, or even for you in general, is it cheaper to do the pelletized version of hops because of that processing cost? Or is it more expensive when someone wants the fresh hop because you then have to, as the grower, get those hops and then take time away from doing processing of other hops to deliver those fresh hops?
I would imagine he says that I would imagine driving, pounds of fresh hops to somewhere is cheaper than pelletizing them because of the process. But I don't know.
But it also potentially takes anywhere from, we'll just, guesstimate or reckless speculation, that could take 1 to 3 hours away from pelletizing an extra 100 pounds of hops. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, maybe there is that weird.
All of these costs start adding up. And then you get to the point where you're trying to price your product, whether it's from the tap or by distribution.
Right. And that's what they touched on as kind of one of the last notes that I had for this episode. When there are increased costs because of everything you just mentioned, where does the brewery, the bottle shop, the tap room, whatever it may be, how do they spread out those increased costs that they are seeing? Do they pass that along to the consumer by raising prices of what they're pouring? Do they try to get cheaper ingredients? Do they try to, where do they, how do they navigate
so
that?
The tough part is if you're facing new, let's call it restrictions. I don't want to use the T word.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just any increase, regardless of the reason why, that is still a restriction.
If you're facing them like in the snap of a finger, it's extremely challenging to navigate. This is more of a podcast for industry people.
Yes, that's
to
an excellent way to put it.
To understand that if you're not taking into account all of these things, this is why you might be scratching your head on why
you're suddenly having trouble with
1 + 1
in the black or
equals
whatever.
2, and you're like,
okay,
what's your percentage you're willing to spend on? So like an entertainment line, somebody a brewery that's gonna have a minstrel on Thursday,
a bard following patrons around as they're trying to drink their beer.
Correct. Yeah. Somebody playing a lute on Thursday. You play your lute or minstrel.
Would you rather have, when you show up to a location, higher gravity, a brewery, a restaurant, what have you? Would you prefer to have a minstrel around you for the entire time that you're there, or a mariachi band?
Mariachi band, hands down.
Okay.
Hands down.
All right.
If a brewery around here had a mariachi band, I would
just
be
show up
there.
with that. Okay.
I would be there. I would spend hundreds of dollars at your location.
I kind of think the bard would be more fun because they tend to make up songs about you, about the situation on the fly, which could
I
be
am there for the
hilarious.
mariachi band.
All right.
I am there. Right. And by the way, mariachi band, whatever mariachi band that is, when I renew my vows with my wife, I need you to be there.
I love it. I love it. It was for as not casual drinker friendly.
No, it's extremely important.
It's very important.
But it could be to the wrong people. It could be
right.
a dozer, like put you to sleep.
Sure. So for any of the industry pros that listen to our show, if you do not already subscribe to or listen to All About Beer, this might be a good episode to check out. I think it was under 45 minutes long. Yeah. It was under an hour. I remember
good
that.
Good thing,
much.
too, because goddamn. Talking about all these fucking numbers and metrics and all that.
Listen to it at 2x speed. It's fine.
I mean, it's kind of my life. I understood it. I followed along with it. And
I got it. It was just hard for me to apply to my drinking experience versus how you would apply it.
The bottom line is, how do you feel as a drinker is really what it boiled down to is, now that you heard all of this,
sure,
how do you feel as a drinker? Like, I just opened the beer I had before this. It was an $11 beer.
Right.
How do you feel about that?
I guess I'm a little different than just your average common drinker because I do understand
for sure.
this. But to me, it is still the quality of the product. Is that quality good enough to where I feel like I will still pay that much for that beer? And in this instance, it was. Kind of a non-beer point are concert tickets. Like one of my favorite bands, 21 Pilots, are going on tour again this fall. And their first stop of the tour is going to be in Cincinnati. And I said, we have got to go. And my Josh said, depends on what the ticket prices are. Like, what is that limit to where you just say,
but you were like,
justify.
No, it doesn't.
No, actually, I considered it. I went, you know what? If it's more than this, I don't know how different this tour is going to be from the one that we just saw last year. It could be a lot of the same because this new album is coming on such the heels of the previous album. It could be almost the same show with just a couple new songs thrown in. But at some point, there's going to be a time to where I look at a tap list and say, man, as much as I really want this adjuncted stout, it's $11 a glass. I know I'm going to enjoy this IPA just as much, and it's only $7 a pint. And I'm going to make that choice. I don't. It's weird. I don't have there's no line in my head. It just is. It's a situational. I guess.
Can I recklessly make a analogy?
Absolutely.
Locally.
Absolutely.
Voodoo, who I heard had kind of pricey price points on their beer, and from all reports, their beer was mid.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And they didn't make it. Now, there were a lot of other reasons why. First of all, they were a invasive species.
True.
If you were inflating your prices and the beer and experience didn't stand behind it,
it would be a one and done. I wouldn't go back.
Yeah. And so, yes,
right.
Voodoo closed.
Mm-hmm. And one of them did. Yeah.
One of them.
Yeah.
One of them.
It's a whole Sonder story situation. There are qualifiers. You know what I mean? Like, I am much more willing to continue to pay more and more and more for a pint of beer that I really enjoy from somewhere local because I know what an increase in cost is going to do to that small business. If it's a national brewery, that limit for me might be a lot lower because it's not my neighborhood. It's not.
Right.
It's not my home community.
Right.
Right or wrong as that may be, but
I think it definitely could have played into downtown Cincinnati scenario.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because again, downtown, if you had other options, which you absolutely did. I say did because Voodoo Downtown's no longer there. Other
closed as well.
Right, but you had other options. At least one of them. This is kind of weird because I'm going to kind of keep Over the Rhine out of the downtown bubble, even though they're right there. I won't. You have other incredibly close, very good local breweries just a few minutes away from these, invasive species breweries. Why would I spend 2 times the amount at Voodoo, again, using that hypothetical situation, for a non-local beer, I would much rather pay that same amount at one of these tap rooms, at one of these local breweries, because I know where that money's going to. I know the bartenders. I know the taproom managers. Like, I know the people that me being there and buying that pint benefits.
Right.
For these out-of-town facility, even for like Masthead, they're Cleveland, they're Ohio, but it's not Cincinnati. I don't know. I don't have the faces of the people that impacts in my head. Doesn't mean that those employees mean any less.
Look,
and that they should sell their job.
I love this beer.
Right, but if I had a choice between spending $8 on that Masthead beer and $8 on this Mellotone beer, you have to pick one. I'm going Mellotone. It's local. It is the place. It's going back into the Cincinnati economy.
I got to be honest. The reason why I go to this IPA a lot of times is because it's a 16-ounce beer.
More than 12.
That I get, exactly.
More than
that
12.
I get for essentially a 12-ounce beer price.
It was. I don't want to say it was a fun episode to listen to because again, I struggled.
It was a lot of numbers.
It was a lot.
But people
it's important. Yeah.
People who are in the business, who care about the business, it actually explains a lot.
Yes.
And the tough part is translating that to an audience who doesn't care.
Right.
They just want the beer and they want it for the price they want it.
Right, yes.
And so it's tough. But for those of us who are in the business, or for you, like people like you, who dive a little more into it, you get a little more insight into, the
whys.
The whys, exactly.
Yeah.
And I love being able to explain the why on something. That's sort of my deal. And
I love that I have you to explain those to me, because there are plenty of times where I'll say, okay, if this doesn't make sense to me, why does this matter, or why does, X happen the way that it happens? And you're able to kind of fill in those gaps for me. That went on a lot longer than I thought it would for that recap. But
me too.
But yeah, good stuff. Do we need to take a break before the final show that we're going to recap of Barstool Perspective?
Let's take a break.
Let's take a break? All right. We will be right back. We are back, and we have one more show to talk about. Marco, you refilled.
I did it again.
Your beer. Oops.
Not even
an oops. It's a good damn beer.
No.
Masthead's IPA.
Masthead IPA.
Yeah. And
Jason, get a West Coast IPA on tap, please.
Ooh, yeah. Nice and clear.
Yeah.
A lot of hazies, which I enjoy, but you know what? Not everyone does. It's fine.
Yeah.
Teach their own. Because we're going to be talking about Barstool Perspective last, I figured I would go with something that is along that same path, and I got Urban Artifacts' newest beer. I think it's called Jenny. Pronounce it Jenny.
Jenny.
Genni. So I'm saying
Jenny.
Vanilla, watermelon, vanilla. I forget which order the words are in.
Watermelon sugar high.
Fantastic beer.
Yeah.
No flavorings. It is all watermelon and all vanilla. I had the absolute pleasure of talking to Brett a little bit last night. This is
Brett Coleman Baker?
Yes, the Brett
Coleman Baker?
The one and only.
How is his hair?
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
As always.
Yeah.
And even covered in sweat, soaked with sweat, because
that's the way to have it.
God bless him, the man of the people. He is working second shifts right now at Urban in non-air-conditioned brewhouse spacery. Good. Yeah, and he's still going live with Mike on Fridays for Barstool Perspective. That is commitment to the craft.
It's amazing.
Brett, I appreciate you. Thank you for talking to everybody.
A titan.
Yeah.
In this or a teton.
You know what? And I say this with all honesty, and this is a genuine statement. When you think about the big beer barons of Cincinnati, who are, in Spring Grove Cemetery, that type of thing, I think that as the beer community, as the beer culture, as the rise and fall of beer happens within Cincinnati, Brett and Urban Artifact are or should have a place in that beer baron status because of their focus on the Midwest Fruit Tart, what they are doing with that specific lane of craft beer. globally, not just in Cincinnati, but what they are doing with that beer on a national and a global level. And I don't know. I really appreciate everything they're doing, even though as I age, my stomach doesn't handle their products as easily as it used to.
Yeah, you're not going to get an argument from me, Julia. I mean, from the from the brewers that made their mark coming up back when I was brewing and before I started to the time I stopped brewing, one of the most globally impactful brewers is Brett.
Yeah.
For an actual honest, for what he produced, accomplished, and has accomplished across the world for what he's made, Brett has stood out like no other.
Right.
In this local industry.
We have had other individual brewers who had their own breweries, tap rooms, whatever, that have made amazing
I think
beers.
Kelly Montgomery and Brett Coleman Baker.
I would throw into that. I mean, he kind of made the first pastry stout in a way.
Sure.
I mean, it's. But again, those, to me, the difference is Kelly, and we'll just use the people that are currently brewing today still. Kelly is brilliant, but it is not. There aren't any brand new styles that haven't already existed. Not that negates anything at all that for what he's done. But what Brett and Urban Artifact have been able to do is create an entire new market or a more mainstream niche in that market, if that makes sense, for what they do and what they are focusing on. And they know who they are, and they continue to do what they know they're best at.
Yeah. For sure.
All right, so now that we're done jacking off over Brett, Barstool Perspective from June 20th, 2025. Again, when they go live, there are no titles for these episodes, so I make up my own on occasion.
That's good.
And this one is Get a Bigger Boat, Brett. Yeah. They started off on a 15-ish minute diatribe about how it is the 50th anniversary of the movie Jaws.
It is.
Did that movie terrify you the way it terrified me?
It was compelling. It was compelling. I will say that it ushered in, to me, what I feel was the best action movie in action movie history, which is Aliens.
Okay.
In my ute, yes, I saw Jaws, and then I saw Aliens. Now, not to be confused with Alien.
Correct. Good distinction to make there.
But that was, in my opinion, the best action movie to the time, at that time, and then one of the best action movies ever since.
Jaws is what triggered my thalassophobia, fear of deep water, oceans, that type of thing.
I thought it was just the fear of Thelassos.
That too.
Yeah.
It's all combined.
Yeah.
Like after I saw that movie, even as a kid, when I would be at the YMCA, going to jump off the diving board.
Did you ask them about Thelassos? You like?
I did not.
I
did not. I did. Missed opportunity.
About the Thelassos.
I would jump off the diving board because I had fun doing that, and I had to repeat in my head, you can see the entire bottom of the deep end. There is no shark there, but as soon as I hit the water, it was swim my ass as fast as I could to the ladder, get out of there just in case there was a shark.
Well, but what you also have is you have the
lack of Thelassos.
The lack of Thelassos.
All right, so moving on from talking about sharks and predators and aliens, they said that Brewdog closed their Cincinnati tap room. Hell the fuck yeah. I don't think... We talked about that last week for the Weekly Pint, 2 weeks ago.
Maybe.
I don't know. It doesn't matter. They're no longer part of the Cincinnati bubble, so fuck them.
Fuck them.
Yeah, don't really care.
Here's the thing. Like, I was talking to some people at work, and they're like, wow, I mean,
I always forgot that they existed in the city.
And they're like, wow, they closed, and like, but they're still everywhere. And I said, no, they're not.
Yeah, because
they're not
as Brett and
everywhere.
Mike said, they eliminated sales in 19 states last year alone.
That's what I said. They eliminated sales in 19 states. And by the way, their production facility in Columbus is only at like 20% capacity.
Do you think that they are going to end up, I don't want to say completely ceasing the BrewDog brand, but doing sort of what a Taft's Impact did, and they're going to end up being a mostly contract brew company that might have their own, air quotes, in-house brand, i.e. BrewDog?
I definitely think that that's possibility.
A very real possibility.
It's a very real possibility that BrewDog is going to brew less BrewDog out of their facility than they do other things, and still keep a presence because that Columbus facility is supposed to supply North America.
A ton of beer.
I think they're still going to do that, but they're probably going to find ways to sustain themselves otherwise.
So that raises another potentially, not really a hypothetical question, but nothing that I think we need to dive into because this could be an entire conversation on its own. If they do kind of cease operations as BrewDog as we know it, it transitions some type of ownership into a contract-only facility, company, whatever you want to call it. Does that now mean you would feel better buying a product made at that facility than you would buying a product labeled as BrewDog because of the shittiness of the company?
No.
Okay, yeah.
No, fuck them.
Yeah. Beijing. I thought this was interesting in a way that doesn't actually...
or the actual place?
The country, yes.
Okay. Do you know what I'm talking about with the hairstyle?
No, I don't.
Oh, boy.
Oh, are you going to tell me all about the Beijing hairstyle? Well, you pull up a picture while I talk about, or at least begin to talk about, what Brett and Mike let us know about. Beijing is trying to do their own dojing at government dinners to reduce the wasteful spending of alcohol, even though the government themselves owns the alcohol company that the government is spending money on at these government dinners. Like, it's one of those things, like they're handing themselves their own $10 bill, and they're saying, man, we really need to stop handing each other our own $10 bill. I don't understand how any of this is going to help anything. Half of German wineries are on the verge of collapse due to Gen Z.
Yeah, not good.
No.
Not good.
Definitely not. And what's funny is this kind of triggered them onto I don't want to say a rant, but a rabbit hole about is Gen Z causing all the problems and how many times in the past X amount of episodes have they mentioned Gen Z and Gen Z being the apparent cause of X, Y, and Z. So I went back in my notes.
Okay. Oh,
all the way to the beginning.
Holy shit.
So I went to the beginning. I actually only went back
to the beginning.
I only went back 3 months.
Okay. So 3 months.
To March because
we went back all the way 3 months.
Yes. I mean, I figured the number was going to be huge. And not that in my notes I wrote down every time they mentioned Gen Z, but in 3 months worth of episodes of Barstool Perspective, I had Gen Z in my notes as a topic 13 times.
Okay. All right.
That's a lot of Gen Z-ing.
Yeah. That's a lot of Gen Z-ing.
You know what I mean? All things considered.
Yeah.
Episodes are once a week. So 3 months, you're looking at bare minimum at least one time an episode.
Yep.
Gen Z is the cause of something failing, or is
sure.
The reason that they are ranting about
Agreed.
the state of the universe.
No, totally agree.
So
yeah.
Maybe I'll start in addition to a sip count for them. Start doing a Gen Z count. How many times do they mention Gen Z? That could be fun.
Could be.
That could bump their numbers up.
Could.
Yeah. I'll think about it.
That's what they need.
I mean, that's what I have a clicker for. Brett, Mike, let me know. Do you want me to count the number of times you reference Gen Z in each of your episodes?
Yeah.
That'd be a fun metric. Speaking of Gen Z, young people are softing their way into alcohol. Instead of just going out and getting completely trashed, there are so many options now between the THC beverages, seltzers, non-alcoholic stuff. It's a gentle ease into it.
I actually don't disagree with this.
No, I didn't either.
When we were younger, I mean, thing to get into was, you had beer, and occasionally you had other things. You had Bartles and James, or you had, Mad Dog,
Seagram's.
or you had Seagram's.
Seagram's
or
wine coolers. Oh,
or,
yeah.
Or you had...
But it was, I felt like it was more, the spectrum was more extreme. Like you either had the
reason
Bud
is
Lights
because-
and the Seagrams and the wine coolers, or you had the Mad Dog and the...
I'd like to think is because the dive down into analytics was not as focused as it
True.
was.
Very true. Very
I
true.
like to think that it was more sort of, yes, there was data and yes, there was analytics, but it was
But it
more,
wasn't the same as what we have today. It wasn't as granular, yeah.
It's so granular. It's so dug down deep that,
Now they can say, depending on what color your hair is, are you going to buy this versus that? You know what I mean? It's ridiculous.
just so weird that, anyway,
My thought
that's
on
what
it,
I think.
My thought on it is, as long as they are still drinking something, and as long as they are focusing, or the majority are focusing on purchasing local, okay. If they're buying a local seltzer versus a local beer, a local THC beverage versus a local beer, they're still supporting local. So I'm okay with that, as weird as that kind of might sound. But yeah. Heineken. Heineken isn't just a bad beer, they are bad people.
Turns out.
They're allegedly using illegally obtained information to do stuff and things. And yeah, why? Why do they need to be doing that? They're trying to distance themselves from the third-party company that they were working with, saying, oh, well, we had no idea they were doing this kind of stuff that gave information that gave us this kind of edge in this kind of market. So basically, Heineken is no longer, a golden boy in the terrible beer hierarchy, I guess. I don't know how you want to word that. But, I mean, I don't buy it, so it doesn't impact me in any way, shape, or form. But if you are someone that buys your products based off of whatever values you might have, it is something to kind of look into. You may not think it's a big deal. You may think it is a big deal. Again, to each their own. And, but they may not be as good as they claim to be. I only have 3 more notes because we're running long. I mean, the recording time with our breaks is already a little over 2 hours. So let's go ahead, the last couple notes that I have on this, and then the sip count for this episode, if you are ready to dive into the end of the recap, Marco.
For sure.
All right. Completely unrelated to beer news, Brett is ready to suck on the teat of Google. So just, prepare for Google fanboying from Brett in all things. Alcohol is good for you again. The new dietary guidelines say 2 times a day is fine, according to our brain worm eating czar of health, or whatever in God's name he is. I don't know. Moderation, people. This shouldn't be news. Moderation, you're probably fine unless you have some pre-existing condition, and then just know yourself, know your health, and don't be stupid with whatever you're consuming, whatever it is. And then the last note that I had, they ended the show with a conversation about what is the best clam beer that is still on the shelves.
Yes.
Yeah.
They did.
Which I actually, as I was sitting here at Higher Gravity Summit Park waiting for you to show up, Marco,
The HCSP.
at least 5 people ordered that specific beer. 1 person ordered it twice. Yeah, give me another one of those. It's
Oh,
fantastic.
dope.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So
that.
good on them.
Yeah.
If you want a clam beer and you want to know the best clam beer, watch this episode to get that info.
Get that clam up in you.
Ooh. Sure, why not?
No.
All right, do you have any other notes on Barstool Perspective before I get to the sip count and we wrap up this week's episode?
No, it was great to see
Brett back.
Brett's gorgeous mane, and then Mike's, bald head. And
When Mike's solo, he doesn't sit quite as centered under the light.
Correct.
As he does when it's the two of them,
Yeah.
so we don't get that same gleam.
Correct.
Off of the
we
dome.
don't get the bald head gleam. But yeah, great to see them both.
Agreed.
Also, Brett, Mike. I know Brett got to, kick it with Julia. Mike, if you're ever around, let me know. We'll kick it. And Brett, if you're ever around, let me know. We'll kick it.
Yeah. And to the both of you, if you're ever free on a Tuesday evening and you happen to be near Blue Ash, let us know. Pop into Higher Gravity Summit Park. We would love to, if nothing else, have a beer with you.
Correct.
We won't even try to convince you to be on the show. We will.
Don't have to be.
No.
Don't have. We can make it around you.
Absolutely.
So.
All right, the sip count. There was a very, very big kind of back and forth between the number of sips Mike was taking and the number of sips Brett was taking. And for a minute, I thought that Brett was going to be kind of dethroned as the king of the sips for Barstool Perspective, because often Brett surpasses Mike in the second half of the episodes. This week, though, threw a curveball. Mike took 21 sips. Brett only took 19.
Wow.
Very, very close.
You even egged them on.
I did. Egg them on in the chat. So, Mike, congratulations. You are this week's winner of the most sips for Barstool Perspective. Congratulations. In this 38-minute episode, that means there were a total of 40 sips, which is 80 ounces according to our drinking game, which is 5 pints in under 40 minutes. Marco, do you have any other notes about anything that we talked about or anything random before I get into our outro?
I want to let everyone know that I support you. I support you when you say you're camping, but you're actually going to, a house or a
resort.
cabin. A resort, whatever it is. I support you in term camping.
Yes. We support your camping habits, whatever they may entail.
Thank you.
All right. Well, if you like what we have done tonight, you know what to do. I'm going to make this super easy. Go to truthbeerpod.com. Links to absolutely everything, including our Patreon, where you will get unedited versions of the show. The only thing that I cut out are the silences when we go to get additional beer or if I have to blow my nose or something like that.
Yeah.
Other than that, Patreon gets absolutely everything. The random, wait, what were we talking about again? So if you think the conversation just continuously flows every single minute of the show, it doesn't.
Just think that it's the best,
Yeah.
I say the extra 40% of the extra 60% is good content. I stand by that.
That's fair. All right. Well, with that being said, Marco, what are you going to be doing next Tuesday?
I think we're going to do this here,
Cheers.
as far as I know, Julia.
Sounds
Cheers.
great. I'll see you there. Bye.